Reckoning is coming out one day after me recording this video, and I thought before it actually came out, I'll just talk about the story going into this because they've actually set up a lot of things for this that I'm kind of curious which ones will have a payoff, which ones won't, or which ones will have a twist and which ones won't. And that's what I want to go over in this video. And we'll have a decent amount of points I want to go over, and as always, I'd very much appreciate if you guys head down to the comment section and let me know what you guys think about everything we talk in this video or any theories and ideas for the story of Reckoning. I love reading through all story comments especially, but I read through all comments anyways. But hey, since you're down there, you might as well drop a like and subscribe and bell if you haven't already. But with that said, let's talk about the story going into Reckoning. So the first major thing I want to go over is kind of like what was set up in Shattered Veil, because at the end of Shattered Veil, this is where the Sam AI takes the Sentinel artifact from us and then is planning to use it to make her own body, because she's an AI, obviously not the real Samantha Maxis, but she kind of hates being in that form and wants to be a real person again in her eyes, and she wants to use the Sentinel artifact to make a body for her and then transfer all her data over to that so she could live as a real person. Now, of course, our characters want to stop this because they don't want to see someone who was their dear friend, just a copy of them that is an AI, take over that. Like, they don't want to see that. And then also we have Richtofen, who wants to stop her because he says that she'll have godlike power, which is very interesting because why would she? Because we recently learned that the orb that the Sam AI is a part of and then the Forsaken orb are actually two different orbs, and that's what I thought he was talking about, that she would have the full power of the Forsaken, but it seems like that's not entirely the case now, so I'm kind of curious exactly why he said that, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see with that one. Now, one thing that is interesting is that we do see in the trailer of this map that there is some body of a full-grown female submerged in this tube of water. And I don't know if this is the body that the Sam AI created for herself and is just waiting to be transferred over, or if this is a body that Richtofen made for his wife. There's been an argument going back and forth, but I really don't know the answer to that. But overall, I am curious to see how this all plays out, because I feel like by the time we actually get the map, this actually might be background to the main goals and story of Reckoning, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, for the next thing is kind of playing off what we ended off with the last one, is that the possibility that is actually a body for Richtofen's wife, because keep in mind, Richtofen's main goal throughout his entire existence in the story was to bring back his family from death, right? Like, they were supposed to have been dead. We learned about this in Cold War, and his wife and son are dead. I mean, this has been visualized, and of course in the intro cutscene to Liberty Falls. And he's been trying a lot of different things, but then he's recently set on using the Sentinel artifact to bring his family back to life. And that's exactly the question. If we do succeed at taking the Sentinel artifact from the Sam AI, will Richtofen then try to use it for his own means and try to bring back his family too? I feel like that could very much easily happen. But the question is, how would he get it? Because he's not a playable character. The Requiem crew obviously is a playable characters, and will they be willing to give the Sentinel artifact to Richtofen? I highly doubt that, but I still don't trust Richtofen just sit in the background and let everything happen without his interference getting in the way. I'm sure he's going to do something causing a complete twist in this story, but that's just something we'll have to wait and see exactly what it turns out to be. Now, another thing that has been lurking in the background of this Black Ops 6 story is actually Panos and whoever he's talking to in the Dark Ether. Because if you guys remember, in Liberty Falls, this is where we have Panos. He betrays the strike team and escapes the Dark Ether. But this whole time, he was talking to someone in the Dark Ether. Now, who that person in the Dark Ether is, we really don't know. Initially, a lot of people, myself included, thought this was Samantha Maxis, the real Samantha Maxis, who's been trapped in the Dark Ether this whole time. But as time has gone on, I've started to doubt that, because he's referred to this person in the Dark Ether with male pronouns, but maybe she's just hiding her true identity. But then another thing is that whoever it is in the Dark Ether is the one who told him how to build all these Dark Ether machines. And does she know how to do that? I mean, I don't know. She's never really showed that she's done anything like that or knows how to do anything like that. So it's kind of hard to believe that it's her. And that's exactly what I think is going to be the major twist. Whoever this is in the Dark Ether and whatever Panos is planning to do with them is going to completely twist this. The story may start off on us trying to stop the Sam AI, but Panos is just going to be there at the same time and we're going to realize that he's the main threat here, and whoever he's talking to in the Dark Ether is the main threat. And I think the events of the main Easter egg is going to more focus on him than the Sam AI itself. But regardless of what happens, I am very excited to finally figure out who the hell Panos is even talking to in the Dark Ether, because that's been a huge question for a long time. Whether that really ends up being Samantha Maxis, the Forsaken, or even a new character known as the Shadowsmith, I don't know, but I'm excited to finally figure that one out. But those are like the three main ones. Now I want to get into a couple smaller things that have also been interesting. And one of the interesting ones is actually in the recent trailer we found out that the Forsaken orb is actually in Janice Towers. And I'm just curious if that's going to play any sort of role, because keep in mind, the Forsaken is one of the most powerful beings to ever exist in Call of Duty Zombies. And his orb and essence and power is just sitting there, not going to do anything. I mean, I find that a little hard to believe, so I feel like that's going to play somewhat of a role, and it might play a role into things we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I feel like there's a potential that it could turn out to be something big for this story too. Maybe the Forsaken's still alive there, and maybe if he's still alive, he's the one who's been talking to Panos this whole time. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do here, but we'll have to wait and see with this one. But another interesting thing that's been floating in the background is actually like the stated goals of Project Janice, because keep in mind, like, Richtofen's secret goals was that he was using Project Janice to bring his family back to life, but the stated goals and what he told his investors was to make limitless energy. And what we've recently learned is that he's actually been successful at this, but has come at a price, and we'll find out what that price is here in a bit. But I feel like that may have something to do with the Forsaken in his essence. He might have used the Forsaken in his essence to try to create limitless energy, and that may have backfired. Maybe it's the whole reason why these outbreaks are happening again, because he couldn't really stabilize the power of the Forsaken, and maybe started a Dark Ether rift. Like, a lot of different things could happen here, but we do know that at least his goals to make this limitless energy, things did not go the way he wanted it to. Now, another major thing that's been lurking since pretty much the end of Cold War is the real Samantha Maxis in the Dark Ether. Like, what's going on with her? We've literally heard zero things about her throughout the entirety of Black Ops 6 Zombies. We don't even know if she's still alive in there, because a lot of time has passed since she's been in there, like 100 years if I'm not mistaken. Like, it's been a long time. So what's going on with her? Will we finally get at least an update on her if she doesn't just straight up return in this map? Like, honestly, I'm just so confused why Samantha Maxis, the real one, has just been so lacking in the story. I thought she was at least going to play somewhat of a role, but she's been completely absent. And will this finally be the change in that, or was this something that they're going to save for the future? Because right now, it's been very interesting to see that she has played zero roles so far. But speaking of people in the Dark Ether, it is also very much expected that Richtofen's son is actually not dead, but instead been trapped in the Dark Ether, but has been taken care of by Mr. Peaks, the mystery box bunny. And this one I feel like might actually play a role. If Richtofen does try to betray us and then takes a Sentinel artifact for himself, I mean, maybe he tries to use it to bring his son back to life, but since his son is still alive somewhere, maybe that does something else entirely. But that would be insane. But overall, it would be interesting to see his son Samuel for the first time at least play some sort of role, because this character as his son has been lurking in the background of this Dark Ether story going all the way back to Cold War. I think like he was first mentioned in one of the Outbreak Easter eggs, so it's been a while and he really hasn't played a role. I'm just curious if he's actually going to finally do something for this story. And this brings me to the final thing, and I know there's a couple other things that you could think of, but I want to make the video too long. But there is the last thing I want to talk about, and this is something that's been recently confirmed by a developer. But another major story thing for Reckoning is that it is expected that it will set up the events of Black Ops 7 Zombies. And honestly, a lot of what we talked about already in this is probably going to play a role in this setup, because if you guys have heard the rumors of Black Ops 7 Zombies story, is that it's expected that we're going to be playing as the old crew again, Richtofen, Nikolai, Takeo, and Dempsey. Now, I'm of the belief that it's new versions of these characters. Some people think it's straight up Primus or Ultimus. I don't really believe that as of now, but there has to be an explanation for how they come back to life, or at least come back into the story, at least in a new form, because right now we have no idea how that could possibly happen. We don't know why Black Ops 7 7 is expected to take place almost entirely in the dark ether. We don't know anything, and I'm very curious to see if any of the things that we've mentioned so far in this video are going to play a major role in setting up that story. And I'm very excited to see that, because right now with Black Ops 7 we know very little, especially about the zombies game mode, and this might be our very first hint to see what's happening, or maybe even reveal for what's happening in Black Ops 7 Zombies. But regardless, that is going to wrap it up for this video, and as always, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on everything we talked about in this video. But regardless, that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I'll catch you playing The Reckoning.